ask you this. I was kind of alluding to this question when we were talking about the show with the last guest, but you know, how you're in the Philippines right now. Like, how aware of a lot of like the mythology are people in kind of modern day right now? Like, is some of this mythology getting lost, or is it kind of continuing on? I think about like here, right? Like, even if you're not superstitious about it, it's rare to find anyone who feels comfortable walking under a ladder, just because that mythology of it's bad luck if you break a mirror, it's bad luck if you walk under a ladder, right? It's pervasive, so people just don't walk under ladders. Even if they're not superstitious, it's built into us, right? So like, would you say that how much of the mythology is present in a daily sense?
Oh, for me, because I live in the province, it's always there. Especially especially when I go to my grandmother's house, then there's like a termite mound, and so whenever I see that, I always say, "Tabi Tabi po." I'm always like, because I'm scared. I don't want what's happened to my brother happen to me, so I'm really scared about that. It's you when you're in the I think when you're in the province, it's more prevalent for you to actually follow those superstitious beliefs rather than when you're in city, the Manila or something like or yeah, cities specifically. But when you're here, especially in Bicol, and I visit my grandmother, I always say tabi tabi po when I say termite mound. I don't point my finger in a random place because my grandparents always told me, and my parents also say that I might point into a creature, a invisible creature, which we call tawong likod here in Bicol, and that's gonna be a bad thing because they might get offended and I might get cursed, and I'm scared, so I don't do that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah.
Hey, I have a question about like how the Filipino mythology works as a whole. Like, are there I've been doing a little bit of research, but I don't know quite enough. Like, I'm wondering, how do the monsters like fit in with each other? Like, is there some overarching narrative that they all fit into, or do they all just exist separately and have separate motivations and things like that?
I don't know specifically because I really haven't read all of them, but there are creatures, for example, here in Bicol that is also similar in Visayas, but just has a different name. So I think some of the creatures that are spread out in the Philippines are just one creature, but has different names and different variations in how they eat or how they live. So that's basically it. That's basically how I understand the creatures here in the Philippines live specifically. Yeah. They're still very interesting though because at least you'll get to know why the Visayan region has a different characteristics than the Bicol ones. So it's nice. It's still nice to learn. It's still nice to learn about it.
So with the show with Trese, the innovation here is taking a lot of these kind of classical myths and creatures and ideas and concepts and putting them into an urban setting. I was wondering, like, kind of how you felt about their treatment or some of the alterations they made. Like, did they make sense to you? Was there any ones that like worked? Like, oh yeah, that absolutely makes sense for Duende to be in the sewer or whatever. Like what was your impression on that aspect of things?
The first creature that actually came to mind when I was watching Trese was the Sigbin, because the Sigbin in the books are quite different from the Sigbin that was portrayed in the series. They look more wolf-like, but the Sigbin in real life, as told by many old people, are goat-like creatures with long prominent ears and stuff like that. So it's very different, and they can also be like so they are allies of the Trese family, but in real life they also have like ties with the Aswang, so that's very different. That's very different from the portrayal, at least. But I still think it's really fun. It's a story, it's a new setting, so I don't really I wasn't really bothered by it in any chance, or case, because I still think that it's still nice that they actually took something from our culture and then they put it in the comics, and then because of that, people are gonna get interested and they're going to do their own research. So that's what I like about the Nuno was funny because I didn't expect them to put him in the sewers.
In the
I've
sewer?
always, yeah,
Yeah.
I've always thought of him to live in the termite mound. But then again, this is city, and maybe
Yeah.
I always, maybe they kind of like adopted uh the way of the modern living now, so that's why they're there. And one thing that I'm gonna say is it's probably because people have already destroyed a lot of their homes, so now they're living in the city, something like that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's how I see it.
They kind of just moved in the Nuno was already
Yeah.
there.